Welcome to Primetime Live. I'm Isabel Masozera. Now, Rwanda is one of the first countries in Africa to embrace the cashless economy. And, of course, among other countries that have seen the successes, but sometimes technology will not go without its flaws. Joining me on the set tonight to discuss the move for Rwanda to go cashless is Lucy Mbabazi and Kevin Rudahinduka. They are cashless enthusiasts. They prefer to be called that way. Well, welcome to the set.
Thank you for having us.
Lucy, we'll start with you. You've been very outspoken about Rwanda going cashless. I want to know, why is that? Why is it important for you?
It's not important for me personally, but it's certainly important for everyone and the country at large, because it simplifies the way we transact every day. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of money, both from my pocket and really anyone. Yes. But from a business perspective, it certainly simplifies the way someone conducts business in a way that they're able to serve everyone. So that's why I think it's important. In fact, I know it's important.
Well, we'll dig right in. Kevin, most African countries have not been too quick to jump on board. One of the first countries to ever come out open and say we are going cashless has been Zimbabwe. Now, again, after some time of coming on aggressive and pushing this, and I quote, the Zimbabwe governor, John Rugundwa, once said that the cashless road is littered with high charges, distrust of banks, poor infrastructure, and people who now just want to see their money. We are very aggressive about this cashless economy. Don't you have fears that maybe we might be the ones saying this in the future?
No, I don't. What I can say is, when you're starting off with anything, there are costs that are involved, because there's got to be a foundation that has to be laid, especially where there was none. If you look at really most of Africa, but Rwanda specifically, as well as others, there was no foundation for cashless. The foundation is of cash. For years, for centuries, we've only been conducting our lives in cash. But we set out in 2000 to have a vision that by 2020 will be an ICT-driven economy. And that means digitization of everything that we can. And part of that is doing business. We conduct business with ourselves, we conduct businesses with the world. And there's no way to do that without getting paid. And so cashless is about making it easy for everyone to pay and be paid. And really, there's nothing simpler than digital.
I'll interrupt you. Kevin, she talks about convenience. Now, we talk about the country and the economy, but let's bring it back home. You as a person. For most people, one would say if it is easy for you to put out money, you are spending a lot easier. Don't you think that might be a little bit tricky at some point for people?
Well, in anything with these transactions, let's just say it can only be easy as much as you would want to make it easy, or hard as much as you want to make it hard. And I go back to what you just said about Zimbabwe, saying, okay, investing in all these things become expensive, but do we also actually know that cash is also expensive?
How so? How is cash expensive?
I'll give an example. To move cash, you're going to need to spend cash. If I have to move, 100 million, I'm going to hire security guards, I'm going to hire a vehicle. So there's a cost to actually move that cash. So however, how much you're receiving that cash from anywhere, be it an ATM, be it from a shop, there is an actual cost that has been incurred to have the cash in that particular place. However, if that cash would remain wherever it is in the vaults of the biggest banks and the central bank, I can still move it and still transact where I am without actually that cost. So as much as I appreciate that, yes, initially we have to make investments and everything, but I think whoever always brings up that arm and say, okay, digitally it's going to be expensive, they also need to table up and say, okay, what is the actual cost of cash today?
And maybe that's something you should find out.
Yes.
How much does it cost to make 100 francs, or even to print 500 francs? And is there a way to save that? When that money is digital, there is no expense. So you need.
there
is an expense. There is an expense, but it's not
for the
as
businesses,
expensive.
right? And the banks.
There is an expense in terms of moving that,
printing the money.
There is no cost for me who's using the service, but there's a cost for those providing it. Is that what you're saying?
There's that cost, but if you look at it globally, let's just not look at 1 franc moving from one shop to another. We're looking at the central bank keeping the reserves of this country. So if there is money needed in a certain place, money has to be moved in big chunks to different locations so that it can service different areas. So there is a very huge cost that is tied to that. Insurance, vehicle transport, security, everything. The people who are managing. So there is that whole element. But when we say digitally, we have to look at what is the cost to move that 1 franc or 100 million digitally versus moving it physically.
Speaking of where Rwanda wants to go, we've been very open about trying to become a service economy. Lucy, do you think that this is going to engine and fuel that for us?
Absolutely.
How so?
Services can be sold both here and abroad. But if you just look at the cost of getting a service today, or buying a good, I want let's even think about financial services, IT services, software development. Software is on the computer. It's best to sell it that way. Yes. Someone can just buy it from wherever they are and be able to pay someone directly into their account here. But that is not possible for most people because the process of I need to give you my bank details, then you do the SWIFT transfer, all that you're hearing, the cost of actually getting that information and making that transfer. But if that software developer accepted those payments online, instantly they have a payment, the customer has what they need. So we're going to be selling services, particularly that's going to be our #1 export, and I think it's quickly becoming that. And we need to make it easy for ourselves to receive that payment. And cash is already difficult. I'm sure you can talk to the people at Caleb and other businesses and they'll tell you the #1 challenge is how do they get paid. And so that's what we're trying to drive home when we're talking about cashless, is how do we make it easy for everyone to be paid.
I'm glad you're talking about driving it home. Do you feel there's enough sensitization going on for every single person, not just Lucy, not myself, who can go on the internet and read up on it and see the great work the cashless enthusiasts are doing to put out the word? What about that person in the village who also wants to be part of this movement? I transact, I'm a businessman, I move around chunks of money, but I don't understand this thing. Maybe we should go back a little bit and you just help us understand how that works.
Maybe we don't need to understand. Maybe we just need to practice it.
You can't practice what you don't understand.
Well,
yes, you can.
I think you can, because see, let's look at it.
You learn by
this way.
doing.
You learn, basically, you learn by doing.
That's a very African way of doing things.
Yes,
you learn but I think we're in a much better world where communication is easier. And
but communication can be
everyone,
understood differently, right?
Yes.
So it's important to show someone this is how. For instance, if I want a place to accept a digital payment, I will talk to them about it. I will tell them why it's easy. If I go back the next time and they've gotten it, chances are that they're telling you, this is very good. I don't need a cashier to count money. I don't need to have all these people that were handling cash before. They begin to appreciate.
Even small businesses using this?
Absolutely. They'll use their mobile phone, maybe.
Honestly, okay.
I'm a person in the market and I'm selling clothes.
Yes.
Yeah? If I don't understand how this is done, I need Lucy to come and show me, because you said maybe we need to do it by saying.
Absolutely not. Look, at the end of the day, it's not about the technology. We don't sell technology.
No
one wants to buy the technology.
Yes.
It's about the value proposition. Now, the person in the market, what do they want? They want the money. So if you can show them how the money ends up in their hands, whether physically or electronically, they will want to jump onto that. The challenge is we're not taking that step and looking at the barriers, what prevents that person to actually think that they cannot get their money electronically on their mobile phone, or on their card, or whatever on their account. Because today I go to the market, honestly, I walk in without cash. We're talking about like a Kimirongo market. All I can do is I agree with the person, okay, I am going to send money to whatever instrument that you have, your wallet or a Tigo, MTN, whatever, anything that you may have. However, the challenge that comes at the end of the day, me who is paying, I'm having to pay an extra cost, because the moment I tell someone I'm going to pay you that way, they say, oh, okay, please remember to add how much money I need to pay to withdraw it.
Yes.
But you see, already they're accepting it, but they're already thinking, okay, once I get it, I need to take it out.
Yeah.
Which is another challenge that we have to deal with. Why should they take it out?
And
for what reasons should they be taking it out? Which could be maybe they need to pay their suppliers, maybe I need to buy some food. Why can I not now use the same channel and pay conveniently, and the money stays there electronically?
And that's that's an opportunity for the banks to now take on, is how do you digitize an entire value system, ecosystem. So if I'm going to buy my cabbages to sell at the market, there's a truck that's going to come to the market in the morning. I'm going to go to it. That truck is picking up probably from Mosanze. So that farmer should be, where the cabbages are coming from in the first place, should be able to accept the payment digitally. Yes. That way, when the truck comes to the market, I can buy my cabbages digitally.
We'll still
and
come
then
back
when I
all of this sounds good, but we'll still come back to the sensitization bit, because I feel we need to do a lot more to get everybody on board to understand it.
But it's not going to come unless the service is there. They know about it and they have seen how it works. Because from my experience in the research that I've conducted myself, going out to the markets, people understand, because they say, look, when I get a loan from the bank, I have to get I have to buy extra sacks of beans, because I don't want to go back to Rwanda to where my nearest bank branch is to get the money. So I would rather buy extra sacks of beans, so that when I don't need to go back to the bank until the next loan comes. And then when you tell them, how about if you would be able to buy your beans electronically, which they've experienced in how they receive their loan and how they're paying it back to the bank. And they'll say, you mean I can be able to buy my beans? So I could just order my beans sitting here in my shop
and all of
without
that
having to go. So they get it. It's just a matter of the service provider going and having that conversation with them as a customer.
So it is the responsibility of the service provider to educate
their
and
customer.
Honestly, not to really undermine the part where you say, the awareness is needed. But at the end of the day, we need to look at it that if we were to do awareness, it should be more to let people know what are their rights. If I'm signing up into a service from a service provider, I need to know, okay, what are the benefits? What is the value I'm getting out of this? If it can't give me ABCD to send,
then I have an option to go to.
Yes, they should be able to compare.
We had an experience with one of the places I love to go have my coffee. And they had the machine, it could not work for some time, and the service provider was not doing an incredible job. And it felt like they didn't know who to go to, because they thought, okay, maybe if the bank I'm working with is not doing a good job, everybody else is not going to give me a better service.
So that's a mistake on the part of the business. They need to understand what their options are. As a customer, you have a right to choose. You choose which bank to go with. You choose the service provider. And if the service is not good for you, one, first of all, you have to demand that it is better. It is what you signed up for. Two, you look at other options because they're already there in the market, and you make sure that you're getting that which you're paying for. Because whatever service you're paying for it, why should you settle for bad service when you could get what you're paying for?
There's Kalisa Joshua from Twitter who wanted to understand why there's some irregularities, because he says that especially when it comes to the buses, that there's been issues where there's double payment, or your account is credited twice, debited twice, and things like this happening. Don't you feel like those glitches might be something to look at?
Well, I happen to work from the technology base to make these things happen.
Yes.
Glitches are part of any system can have a bug. Any system can have some fault. But the biggest challenge I think we need to really look into and even embrace is how often will the customer complain about it? You see, it's about almost demand and supply. The more people will complain about that particular issue from the service provider, the more the more burden it will go on the service provider to ensure it's fixed. Because if it doesn't get fixed, the service provider will lose revenue. Now, typically what is happening is that people don't say anything. And I'm glad we have the social medias and everything. So they're helping to bring out these things. But
Yes.
At the end of the day, the customer needs to know their right. If I get a service, then it ought to work the way I demanded it to be. And if it is not happening the way it needs to be, how else do I need to make sure that it happens the way I want it? If not, I step out of the contract.
Okay.
And
This
move to something better.
cashless has been described as one of the most safe, the safest way of transacting.
Definitely.
Can you talk me through some of the security benefits that one would enjoy going cashless?
Well, for such as with the example that you gave, that someone's account was debited twice,
Yes.
it can be reversed. Right.
Okay.
So,
So you lodge a complaint
Yeah,
and
you
the
lodge your
bank
complaint.
will-
exactly.
Yes.
You simply say, and the digital trail is there, someone can easily reimburse you. Two, there is no loss of, obviously there can be cases of fraud, but even those are managed and you can get your money back. Whereas if your money
cash,
is
it's
stolen
gone,
in
it's
cash,
gone.
it's gone forever.
trace.
But with
Okay.
the digital trail, you're able to see where it went. It moved from point A to point B,
Okay.
and you're able to save, to make sure it doesn't happen again as a service provider, but have more information for the customer. I mean, I can't even say beyond that. Your money is safe and you can get it back at any given time versus cash where if it's gone, if it's burnt in a fire, if it's stolen, anything, it's gone
been
forever.
referred to as the
It just
digital
disappears.
wallet revolution. Now, for most people, carrying cash is now coming off as primitive, as very old-fashioned. What do we have to say about our fathers who just love to have a small box in the corner and you go get your money from the bank? I like to see it where it is all
Yeah.
the time. I mean,
By
what
the-
happens?
It's what
'Cause
they
there's
know.
No,
freedom
well, it's
to
what they
choose.
know, but actually, if you look at the statistics, which I don't have right now, you'd actually find the older generation, they are more on digital than the younger generation, or in between. This is the reason.
Okay.
I need to send money to my parents or to whoever is my guardian, and the easiest way I can do is send it electronically. So they will receive it electronically. They actually embrace it, for them. But the challenge is the other way around. The young people who are in day to day, how are they doing it? At least the larger portion. If you look at, let's say, the statistics of what are the users who are more active on Facebook, for instance, you'll find the older generation
It's more active on
is more
Facebook,
active.
yes.
Why? Is it because they are
Maybe
older?
because
And
Facebook
I
has
mean,
been there
I-
a lot longer.
But I can't fault our parents. It's what they know. It's what they grew up with. But they also appreciate that, one, they fought for us to have a better country, and they are seeing us, they want the best for us and our children and future generations to come. So they are moving along with us. If I can, I'm sure my mom won't like this, but she was, in the beginning, she wasn't really understanding why she needed to have a point of sale at her business until I came in with a client who wanted to buy things for a certain amount, but because they didn't have a machine, unfortunately, they lost that sale.
Yeah.
And so from that moment, she said, wait a minute, we just lost money. And now it has helped them to save money and be able to do different things, so they appreciate the machine. If you come, we accept whatever you have, whether it is this and that. So they're learning along with us, but I think, yes, remittance is going to be one of those things that is going to drive that change. But they're learning and they're appreciating technology. They want to be cool, but it's safe for them. They don't have to worry that the money has been stolen, because I'm not going to remember where I put my bag.
That's
I'm
true.
not going, but if it's on my card, they know, go say it is
sure.
it's
And they can
safe.
be trusted.
Exactly.
Rwanda.
And you do know also that, based on that example of someone walking in and not buying, is that the majority, 30% of sales, they are lost with people who walk in and go out without anything.
That's true.
I'm one of those that walks up. Goes out a lot.
Literally, I could see something very nice in a shop and I want to buy it. I walk in and I don't have cash. I didn't plan it. Yeah?
You just want to buy
I just
it.
want to buy it immediately. But if they can't accept any form of payments that is available on the market, then they lose.
That kind of convenience could as well turn into tyranny at some point, especially for couples, Yes, maybe a little exaggerated, but if my husband, we discuss this and we say this is what we're working towards, and he can just pull out that card and buy anything at any given...
Those
Well,
are
there are
marriage.
ways.
Those are marriage issues.
Okay.
Those are not
Not
digital
really,
or
but
financial
still, the
issues.
marriages are going to go
No, but
cashless.
seriously.
No, but not necessarily. And this is where, also technology is helping out iron out some of those things, even though maybe at some point we can't, technology can't help out much.
Yes.
We are introducing different applications. So by the time I walk in that shop, already my application tells me you can actually afford it. Within your budget, it is actually like you have that reserve. But if I look at it and says, no, maybe I should just admire it and walk away. But really, that's more of personal, how you manage financial management.
But better yet, you can tell the bank when any transaction happens in this account, both of us get notifications.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they have 2 phone numbers in the account. Anytime there's a debit or credit, the couple receives a message,
So
and then they can
should actually try out this thing.
yes, exactly.
So definitely they have to resolve some issues.
I think digital will solve a lot of issues because then we get to know what everyone is spending and hold them accountable.
Rwanda has been described as one of the fastest growing economies, not only in Africa, but we are making world news. Yeah? Do you think that this movement helps our economy in any way? Can you help me understand how?
Absolutely. Globalization is a reality, and trade is the biggest one of that.
Yes.
We have to buy and sell to each other, and the simpler we make that, the easier it is. Developed economies like Japan, like Korea, like Singapore, have given incentives to drive this exact agenda. Korea at some point gave merchant businesses. In fact, maybe let me just give the most recent example. India. Prime Minister Modi, as soon as he came into office, he wanted to have more people banked and more cash out of the economy to reduce inflation, etc. What he did was offered an incentive, 2% tax off for the consumer and the business that paid digitally. And his goal was to get 150 million new bank accounts, because it's in bank account that you're included. You can borrow and be able to grow yourself. What he got at the end of that was over 200 million accounts, because people were seeing the value. So there was that incentive that is there that changed the mind. If you do something within 3 weeks, it becomes habit. If you go to the shop and you pay for your goods and services for 6 months and you get a discount, even if the discount is not there, you'll be used to that ease of doing business and you will continue it. So that's where we need to start, because if there is no developed economy that is run on cash, it is not there.
Then we would have had the whole world going cashless.
I mean,
Well,
What is the percentage? How many countries would you say are going? What's the percentage? How many countries going cashless at the moment?
I mean, there is no country that is 100% cashless, but there are those where it's 4.5 out of 5 transactions.
To what percentage is Rwanda?
Well, what we would what I would wish, honestly,
not even 1%. I need to come back.
Well, what I would wish, honestly, as someone in this economy who spends and moves money,
Yes.
I would wish it to be at least that 90% of our transactions are not cash. Meaning that 90% of the transactions we transact on a daily basis, they are digitally. And 10%, we can live with it. We can live with that cost.
Is that achievable? And how
It is
long do you think it will take us?
it can be achieved in December.
With Rwanda, it's achievable.
Right? 1%.
Very quick.
We started in 2000.
Yeah.
The movement to go cashless.
This is the movement to go towards ICT-driven society.
Yes.
But the cashless movement really started. No, it's not even been 5 years.
5 years now.
And we are at
And
1%.
so, which we're coming from zero. We're not. I mean, the statistics vary. But if you look at what we call the personal consumption expenditure index, how much of that percentage is digital? How much of that is cash?
Yes.
That's what he's talking about. 90%. Well, for most of the people, it's 100%. What does that translate into? It's higher cost of cash to the banks. Therefore, the interest rates will remain high because it's difficult for the banks to hold on to money that can drive down our interest rates. Now, if we were going to go to Chimirongo market, because food is, I think, the #1 expenditure.
Yes,
If every market vendor accepted digital payments,
Yes.
it would move that needle of that PCE index. If transport was fully where everybody getting on the bus. You know, those are the everyday spend sectors. Those are very much.
Can I interrupt you just a little bit? Because again, I was reading up on this and an article popped up on lifegoals.com where it was revealed that hackers can easily steal your credit card information from across the room. Just as easy as that. If we're using a system that is prone to hackers.
It's not prone. Actually, hacking is, it's one of those, it happens, but it's a rare.
Let's just say that where there is money, people want it.
Exactly.
A recent survey revealed that with with Google Wallets, that there were actual hackers that were getting away with this.
Like he said, where there is money, people want it. Where there is money, the thing is hackers will be there, but actually the cash losses are way more. Because even with the hacked money, you're able to defend your case and get your money back in your account if because it's been tracked, and if it's not your fault, there's no reason why your bank can give you your money.
It's a lot safer if, even though I'm hacked, my money can be traced back to me
immediately. If you realize any irregularities on your, let's say it's a Visa card, you inform the bank immediately. They block that card. They begin an investigation. They give you back that money, and it's not. It shouldn't be a headache, but can the same be done with cash? I mean, that's the conversation that needs to be had. There is no system that is foolproof. Even within the bank, there are people that will take the money. Even at home, there are people that will take the money. So you'd rather.
Actually, to really add on to that point, let's make it real.
Okay.
Today you have your money in your, let's say a hacker tries to hack you in an account in some bank X. The moment, and you also have some money you've put in some envelope at home. Someone tries to take it. Literally, you'll probably find out at the end of the day or the next time you're going to check that envelope. Today, if you get hacked on your particular account, you will immediately probably get an alert that money has moved. And for those who are even married, it goes much, much more, at a higher
Kevin,
alert.
I'll ask you to hold that thought. We have to go for a short break, but definitely we need to explore that a little deeper.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for joining Primetime Live, and we still have so much more to examine. When it comes to cashless, yes, the technology forecasters have described it as the best way to transact, but there are some glitches that need to be looked into. Are they, something that is worth taking on? Is this the best way to transact or not? Join the conversation on Twitter at RBA Rwanda, or you can look me up on Twitter as well at Isabel Masozera. Leave a comment, leave a question, give us what you think about this. We'll be right back.
There are no glitches.
There are no glitches.
but you need to understand there is no system.
Yes.
But at least
the benefit.
Back, you're still watching Primetime Live. I'm Isabel Masozera, and the conversation still continues. When it comes to cashless, does the convenience outweigh the risks? Still on the set is Lucy Mbabazi and Ken. Well, Kevin. Before we went...
Kevs, you can refer me to as Kevs.
Before we went for a break, you were talking about the merits. Please.
Well, I just want to look at this in this way, that every system, every best solution in this world, or where there is money, be it the best bank in this world or the best safe, someone, one or the other, if they want it, they can break it. However, we need to look at what is really the whole benefit overall, because every system will have the particular glitches you're referring to. We've been in the automotive industry for many years. And today we're even having self-driven vehicles. And does it stop us to be in those vehicles and move from point A to point B? Does it mean that there are no accidents? At the end of the day, those things are there, the challenges are there, but we try work and resolve and reduce and make sure the percentages are low. And it's the same thing in the digital world. There will be people who will want to hack. There will be people who just want to lose money. There's all sorts of things, but we try as much as possible to help, the owner of the money to actually feel that there's more value they're gaining versus what they think they can lose.
Okay. Lucy, let's talk about the structures that are put in place to facilitate and make sure that this is a direction that will flourish and produce results. What are we doing right as Rwandans?
Well, one, the policy is there. We are supportive of cashless.
Yes.
There is a deliberate policy and intention of the government, certainly by the central bank, to move our economy to at least 80% cashless by 90% cashless by 2020, as well as the equal amount financially included. And so when we talk about financial inclusion, obviously these days it's anyone that has a financial tool and can be able to access services. But for me, the financial inclusion that I count most is that of those that are formally banked, because that means that they have access to financial services such as loans, insurance, etc., that enables them to grow themselves. Where we stand today is not where we want to be.
Yes.
And government is doing everything that they can to do this. I think they've sent a message to banks, to businesses. They want to see the move to cashless. And they're doing everything to make sure that banks are extending services as far as possible to everyone, everywhere.
Speaking of what is being done, who protects the consumer? If I had a problem, if I had a problem, and I know I asked about this even before we came on set, if I had a problem, I can go to the person giving me the service. Yes. But who else can I go to in case I'm not helped?
Obviously, there's going to be a consumer protection law.
Yes.
I know that I think for us it's still in Parliament. I think it was drafted, and it's in Parliament. This is something they shouldn't take time with.
But in the meantime,
it's urgent. There is nothing. There's nothing that can protect you except for you to speak up to your service provider, because the law is not there to say you can't charge above this, you can't offer such to the customer. Until such a law exists, institutions can do whatever they want.
And even when the law gets to be in place, it needs to be put into place. For instance, as a consumer, if a certain service provider has given you an unfair service or unfair charge against what is on the law, how is basically the Consumer Act going to protect? How are you going to raise? How is it going to be monitored? How is it, so as much as it's still in the early stage for the act to be put in place, there will also be some time, leapfrog to actually be able to practically put it in place. Yeah. But for now, the best, honestly, is go to your provider and renegotiate your terms and make sure that you can get the best you can.
What I can say is that people need to realize how much power they have as consumers. Because we are in a market that has about 14 banks. That means you have the freedom to choose. If your bank is not treating you the way they should, then by God, go somewhere else. Okay. If the rate, and you need to shop around. That is what smart business is about. You shop around. How much does it cost at this bank? How much does it cost at this bank? And you choose based on.
I think ladies actually you may be attain to this more better than probably men. You do a lot of window shopping.
Yes.
Why do you do a lot of window shopping?
But you see, where we're going now, we love convenience, because people would want to just sit back and say, okay, I'm protected already. If anything happens, I can just send an email to this.
In fact, today it's much easier. You don't have to do the window shopping like the way you actually go to each shop one by one. You can actually sit in one place.
On your computer. And
get a computer, be in an internet cafe. Now look at all the banks, what they're offering. They have, banks have websites. They, all that. You can even call the call centers and ask some of these things. Don't just be locked into a particular place. Just research and see what what's the on the market.
But for those who who are not able to research, someone has to speak for them. I mean, there's got to be simpler terms and conditions whereby it's not 7 pages.
And again, I take
it
you
is
back to the
one
same thing
page.
over and over again. I feel like the corporate, the A, B, C class, taken care of, you know, you have a voice.
No,
yes,
no.
And there's a platform to speak out. But you know, the hesitation here comes from the ordinary citizen. Back the Mutura.
I mean,
that's
I
why the
wouldn't-
Consumer Act probably, you know, will actually play a bigger role because the majority of people, they're not on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming along the way.
But I mean, for us, when we speak, we're speaking especially for the ordinary citizen. Because my life is not really inconvenienced with cash. Because many of the places I go to accept my form of payment. But
and you can probably
almost
afford the cash. You know.
Exactly. but I speak for those that don't have a voice. Because I'm here, I'm able to, I know what they deserve and I can speak for them. And
what's the exact charge that businesses have to incur to be able to use the cashless system?
There is no exact. It varies based on how you negotiate with the bank.
See, that's the thing right there. Because, again, yes, it encourages competition and it benefits on the side of the businesses. But the consumer, depending on how much information you have,
consumer, okay.
Consumer
Here we're
is the
talking about
business.
consumer or the business. You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the
business.
day, I think it's not so much about. If you look at it from a business point, you know,
Kevin, looking at it from the business point,
Yes.
the bargaining power is not the same.
Why not?
Yeah, because
It
you
is.
might be a better person when it comes to negotiating how much.
But
you
what
want
makes
to
me
pay for
better?
service.
It just-
So how is the business person protected? Should then there be like a leveled amount of money?
Okay.
For
So there's what the regulator, for instance, has
This-
said. If I look at the POS, I think they said 2.5% or something like that. I don't remember.
there's a rate.
There's a rate that has been set by the regulator. But there are those that are paying much lower than that because they've been able to negotiate with the bank in such a way that the more sales are increased digitally, the less you're going to lower my commission that I pay the bank.
Actually.
Because it's not, and let's see what's involved in that charge, because I
Charge,
think
yes.
businesses need to also understand
Yes, please.
the investment that has gone into that. Because people, you know, we're told to invest, but the banks have got to see a return on that investment for all of us to benefit.
what
They've-
exactly am I paying for?
So that POS costs money, and you're not buying it yourself.
I hope in this case we are
If
referring
I'm referring to
to
the-
a business.
If-
not
yes,
yes.
to a business. So if
To
I,
a restaurant, to
okay, to a
to a
restaurant,
government, to a
yes.
government entity
Right?
that
Yes.
receives money.
right?
to,
Exactly.
You know,
So a POS has been purchased. That costs anywhere from $300 to $500. It needs to be connected
on the
it-
network.
on the network. It has to have a
So you're
connection.
paying for connectivity.
There are people in
the
the
network.
back office that are making sure that it is working 100% of the time. And should it die, they pick it up, replace it with something else.
No
Your
charges.
money goes straight to the bank. There is no need to count cash. It is safe. It is guaranteed, etc. for a fee, let's say, of 2.5%. Now, it can be lower. How do you expect the bank
volumes and-
to do this business when they're not being
Getting
compensated
something.
somehow?
Well, that one
And
is
Now, what's
clear.
the cost to
Isabel,
the business?
Just to add on, you know, we need to look at it, the whole ecosystem.
Yes.
Telcos came and invested, right? So if we use their network
They must
to
be
ride
paid.
it, they have to get a return of their investment.
And that's all good.
In the process.
But what about the,
And
the
you know,
businesses?
and then-
Because you brought up the return part. Now, there's been a lot of complaints from the people, some of the people that are using the machine. Sometimes they don't get to receive their money on time. The banks take a while to send the money
But
back
they
to
refer
the business.
back to the
It
contract.
can
Again.
affect
The
running
contract
of these
stipulates
businesses.
Your
the length
time
with
to
which
get
you're
the
going
money.
to get the money.
Okay.
So it's your responsibility as the business
Let's talk
to
about,
call the
let's-
bank
you're
and see
talking
why you
about
didn't get the money.
contractual terms and all of this. How
Yes.
many ordinary business people can afford legal fees to get assistance to
The
understand
contract is
some of
one
this?
page
Well,
or
the
two. It simply says, at least the ones that I've seen, you're getting this machine. You're going to pay me
Can do
2.5%. You will get your
Within
money
this period
on
of
this
time.
day. Precisely.
And also, it will probably also stipulate maybe if you hit this volume, it will be discharged. It will be-
I'm talking
It is
about
not
when you
complicated.
do not get what you're supposed to receive at the end of the day. How are you protected?
Again, we go back to that part of the window shopping. Look, if you don't like this buying from this shop, what stops you from buying from the next shop?
That's a solution before you have the problem. It can't help once you have the problem.
No, it can.
It can.
It can.
So
be like, look, if you don't give me my money, I'm going to another bank.
It's like a painkiller, not a cure.
No, Isabel,
it is a cure. They will do better. They will
No.
step up and do better. I assure you.
Yes.
Because there are times I do the same complaints. And I say, I don't like this. I'm moving my money. And they will step up and do something else.
Do something about it. And look.
After harm is done.
And Isabel, probably
but
the reason why you're not able to see it.
It won't happen again.
Probably the reason why you're not able to see it from a window shopping position is that today when I buy something, again, we go back to that Consumer Act that needs to be put in place. If I buy something, do I have the liberty that I can actually bring it back if I'm not happy with it?
We don't.
Right now, as we don't have. In more developed markets, I have
There's
a
return policy.
There's a return policy that you'll get back, you're guaranteed back your money, or you can actually take whatever else that works.
Yes.
It's the same thing with this particular service.
Yes.
If you're not happy,
Return to sender.
return it.
So, I mean, that's the awareness that needs to happen, that you have a right. You have a right to get the service that you're paying for. You should be able to speak up for it. There's a reason why they did this Nayombi. Is that, are you getting good service? If you're not getting service, how can it be improved? We've been accustomed to keeping quiet. Niko bimeze, mwihangane, what? No, there is no reason to tolerate bad service, especially if you're coughing out money for it. Everyone has a right to have a good service, and if you don't speak up, the next person will suffer. So if that business does not speak up, the others will think that's the norm because they have a conversation and they think it's the norm. No, bad service is not the norm.
Some of the critics have said that this movement will help economies and also reduce theft. And now, I was reading up on a study that was done about Sweden being one of the countries that really
4.5 out of 5 transactions are cashless.
That's true. Well, they said the number of bank robberies in Sweden plugged from 110 in 2008 to 16 in 2011. That's incredible. And they say that the security did not improve in the nation, and it's not the reason this happened, but it's because the Swedish banks simply didn't have the cash.
We've read the stories where the robber arrives and they say, sorry, we can't give you money because there's no money.
That's
where we need to go.
And the cost, if you look at it from someone who's going to steal, is always going to look at it from the cost of attacking. Look, for me to attack a certain bank A, I require to invest this much, but what do I get in return? So if I'm going to invest a lot and my return is less, what should I attack? Which applies to that particular...
Because the robbers found out there's no money to get,
no
and so they don't go.
So why spend more to try to attack?
If there's no money.
And it goes back now even to an individual consumer. At the end of the month, you get paid. All you do is you go empty your whole bank account. You put your money in the pocket. The likelihood that a thief will actually attack and take it away, will take everything. Rather than you carry maybe your card or your mobile or whatever, they will only probably take that mobile or even one transaction that maybe will go through, maybe if they force you, I don't know, whatever reason they may force you to do a transaction. But it will just be one time. And it won't be your whole money.
Again, this could be coming from an ignorant point of view, but there's been speculation and rumors since there's so much information obtained about a person for this to happen. How are individuals protected? If somebody can get a hold of all this information, how safe am I? Not only for transacting, but other areas.
But people need to understand that the central banks have risk regulations. Anybody that is in the financial sector is regulated on risk. How are you protecting people's information, and how are you safeguarding their monies? So those regulations are there, they're global. That's why should there be any kind of international crime, there is a coordination that is helping to bring around that ring and put it to a stop. So there are rules that govern money management, and the number one of that is security. How are you safeguarding people's money? And when it is lost, you better get it back. Again, it's those rules in place which is a form of consumer protection that's already there, that consumers don't have to worry about that. And the central bank they have bank supervision that is looking over these things. They learn best practices and continue to make sure that they're refining the rules to make sure that people's monies are more safeguarded. So there is no worry about obviously nothing is foolproof, as we mentioned, but fundamentally there are regulations that are guiding the safety of your money. Everything about the financial system is about security.
And the central bank is primarily there, not for the banks, but actually for the people
for the
of Rwanda.
consumer, to make sure the banks are doing what they're supposed to do.
Kevin, do you subscribe to the school of thought that the harder it is for you to access money, the easier it is for you to save?
No. Savings is a discipline, is a personal discipline matter. Money management matter. So people will say, oh, if you have a card, you're going to spend money, like there's a bottomless pit. No, you have a budget. You know how much you need to spend.
But not everybody is financially sober to that extent.
And are the banks there to make sure that
No.
doesn't happen?
But
because
again, you will agree with me, in the Western world, we have more people going bankrupt every single day.
Because they make poor financial choices.
Accessibility, convenience. I can spend on anything, even far beyond what I can afford.
Well, economy.
Then it's you're spending beyond your means. You should know that I earn $100 a month. Therefore, I need to spend $100 or less. So if you go to spend 150, which you're borrowing 50, you better be responsible to pay it back. So the issue of people going into bankruptcy, that is poor choices. I mean, obviously there are places where people can be duped into something, but if they are duped, they will be caught by the regulators for duping people into what they're not supposed to be. But really, going into credit and whatever, it's a personal choice. Personal money management, and it cannot be blamed on digital.
Are there provisions for these banks and initiatives taken on to educate people, even as they come in to get the service, that listen, this can be a little too convenient, but you try and not.
You have
the really part of the education is actually the digital awareness, basically to use the transaction, because at the end of the month today, the likelihood of anyone who gets paid, they will just go in the bank and pull out everything, which is a big surge to the economy, because now money is being just taken out at the end of the month. While if I have my card or I have my mobile, I will only take out or pay what I need. So if I need to buy bread, I don't need to go take 100,000 out of the bank.
One might even argue having a card on you that can give you money any second is as good as having cash on you, because there's an ATM at the corner of every road you're turning.
So for me, first of all, I'm not a fan of the ATM, so I'm a fan of places to pay. That way you don't have to go to the ATM. So money is moving within the ecosystem digitally.
Because if I'm at a restaurant and I wanted to eat something for 20,000 and I didn't have 20,000 in my wallet, it's easy
I pull up
for
my
me
card.
to just pull out my card.
But that's the point. You have a choice, right?
Exactly.
You have a choice to be in that
in fact, the first choice should be that you're paying with your card, not that you're paying with the cash in your pocket. Because you save that cash for where you absolutely must, like the motor does not accept card. But if you're in a restaurant, it has a sign that says digital payments are accepted here. Surely you should be able to go to that as the first option. I think that's where we need to be heading to. Versus, do I have cash? No, cash is in case something.
First of all, I don't think anyone will want to go out in any place and just for the sake of going out without thinking that, okay, how am I going to afford being there? So whether you are going to afford it using your card or cash, you've actually made a choice, a deliberate choice that you're going to be there and spend. But now the question is, can you spend smartly or can you spend getting out of more pocket, basically? Because if you pay with cash, you're actually getting more out of pocket than actually paying digitally. I think at the heart of the matter is those developed countries did not develop just out of thin air. There was money sitting in a bank somewhere that was utilized to develop the country. That happens when money is sitting in the bank.
Yes.
When cash is not in the bank, there is nothing to fund development.
So
if I was looking at some...
This is a tool that can help further develop Rwanda.
Absolutely, because if you look, I was looking at some statistics where Rwandans had withdrawn of $211 million that had been transacted, I think, in about 3 quarters or something. Only 7 million of that was at the POS, and the rest of that was cash. That is cash that is driving inflation, that is out of the banking system. Imagine if we even had half of that money in the bank treasury. How much could we do? Government borrows from banks to build roads. They use our taxes which sit in banks, but they need to be complemented as well. So we cannot get anywhere when we're withdrawing over $200 million in cash. We cannot develop.
And by the way, being spent where we cannot tell where they're being spent. Exactly. Because you see, the beauty about digital, where you spend your money, we're able to see. That's one. So if you're frequently buying some clothes at Mr. Price, we know that, okay, Isabel likes shopping there. So maybe the next time you go there, maybe I'll offer you and say
a discount.
10%. Because I can tell you're actually there.
Yes.
But if you decide to take out that cash and go to Mr. Price, I have no idea.
That's how
I actually dream at some point where I can actually sit with my bank and say, okay, by the way, I am doing this much digital transactions and I need a loan.
Yes.
And based on this number of digital transactions I'm doing, I need my interest rate to be this. I should be able to negotiate to that because I've reduced a tremendous cost to the bank for me doing my digital transaction. So I should also get something equivalent in terms of actually the interest if I need.
In fact, there are businesses that are doing that. That will pay this, whatever, 2.5% or whatever, but they'll get a discounted loan because 70% of their operations have now moved to digital.
Let's talk about the future.
Yeah.
We have 1% over here, and we have a movement we're trying to enforce. What are some of the strategies that are being laid right now to create more awareness, to encourage Rwandans to get on board with this?
Well, one big one, honestly, that has really changed the way we do things in the time of our lives today and the time of our parents is the internet. Internet has the foundation of internet, it knows no borders. I can move anything literally sitting in one place. And really that's really a big thing, especially for Rwanda that we're embracing, trying to have broadband and everything. So it opens up a lot of things. Now, when you look at now the foundation being internet, you start adding mobile, you start adding all sorts of these things. So these are very critical foundations to make some of these things happen. And I'm glad Rwanda we're actually doing very well. So we've just started. Now we need to now look at what does this internet do for us rather than just,
being there for entertainment. And
exactly.
But I mean, the biggest thing why people don't use cashless is convenience. They don't have many places where they can use the tools they have because there are many people that have all kinds of cards. They have Visa, they have MasterCard, they have Smart Cash, but there is no place to actually pay with them. Or they even have mobile money, but there is no place to pay. There are very few places. So it's inconvenient for many people to access their money wherever it is sitting. So the number one thing is the access, affordable access to these tools and financial services. That should be a basic right. And then it's an opportunity for the banks to utilize technology. I mean, if you think about the mobile penetration, every single mobile phone is a payment tool. It can pay, it can receive payments. So how do we make that happen? That is the opportunity that the financial institutions have today because they have the customer relationship. They are in the business of buying money and selling it. They need customers to do that.
And the money is protected.
Exactly.
By the regulation.
Well, that's one thing I'm going away with because, earlier I kept talking to a few people about whether or not the sales and marketing pitches really do match up to what the cashless movement can deliver. But it is very clear from this conversation that, well, the convenience will outweigh the risk. There's nothing that is without risk.
And no matter how much we market, if there is no place for me to go and easily access my money by paying digitally, we might as well stop spending marketing dollars. We need to be spending money on putting those channels in place where people can easily, because that's the, I think that the thing that many people fail at is to understand what is the deeply felt need of that consumer and how do I solve it with technology. That's what this cashless thing is about. And when we do that, when we can make it easy for me here in Kigali or someone in Chingware in Musanze to be able to access their money easily, especially to pay wherever they are, we can become cashless by this time next year.
Yes. And I have to say we have to keep pushing for this movement, and hopefully the next time you're seated here will be at 2% or why not?
No, the goal is 50. Then we can retire.
Well, you could probably make it better the next time we sit here. You've reduced your cash.
Yes.
That you deal with, and then.
And it would be good to invite someone who has moved, the business that has moved, because I think testimonies are important.
Yeah, yes.
It's one thing to sit here as practitioners.
And you have done an incredible job on social media. I've been seeing some of the information you're putting out, and the reaction from the people who have gotten a great service and how cashless has changed.
I think there are more reactions of people who don't have good service, yes. And so that's what we need to fix.
Lucy and Kevin, yeah, but this is all the time we've had. Please come back next time so we can take this a little further.
We're just getting started. It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, that's all the time that we had today. Remember, the news comes up next, and it's been Primetime Live. Isabel Masozera is my name. God bless.